Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. You're here with Robin at In the Family Way Coaching, and we're here for our daily Bible reading. We are reading through the entire Bible in 1 year, and we are using the Day by Day Kids Bible, which is written by Karen Henley. This is a great version of the Bible if you are unfamiliar with our daily readings, in that it is a storybook form and it is chronological. So while it does not include every single detail, it does give us the big picture of the Bible from Genesis through Revelation. Well, if you have been with me from the beginning, or just at least from this month, you may have a calendar, and in which case it's time to take that calendar out, and you can mark off your day today with your sticker, or any other way that you're marking off your calendar to show that you have done it today. I have mine there, and I have marked off mine for the 18th, and I hope that you are enjoying the calendar. If you are interested in downloading your own free copy of the calendar, please head over to my site at www.inthefamilywaycoaching.com and click on the tab for Read the Bible in 1 year. And there you will see a downloadable calendar for you. It is no charge, just so we are clear. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, whether you are watching or listening, and whether it is on TikTok or YouTube, or whether you are listening via Spotify or Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube Music, or whatever your favorite podcasting app is. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so glad to have you with us. Today, we are going to be starting the story of Samson. And Samson is a very special story because he is one of only 3 people that were dedicated to God from their birth. And when we have babies, we will often go to church and we will dedicate babies to God. But that is not the same thing. These are babies that God dedicated for his service for himself. And he did so before they were even born. So it's just not the same. It's not equivalent to what we are doing. And we find that there are only 3 instances of that in the Bible. We have Samson and Samuel, and then John the Baptist. So we are going to look at that story today. And just so we know, that word is that there's a word to describe somebody who has made a special vow to God. And usually the person is they make it themselves. People don't normally make that vow on behalf of them. In the case of Samuel, Samuel's parents dedicated him from a child to be special. That's a story we will get to later. But in this case, we see that God has specifically come to the mother, this woman, and said that he will be special from the time he is born. And so we're going to keep our ears open that even during her pregnancy, she is to keep him separate and holy by not doing something. So let's keep our ears open for that. And we'll talk more about that after the reading. But I do want to give us a little bit of heads up on that so we know what we're listening for. Also, what we are going to see today is, once again, we have an angel, and this angel is Jesus. We've seen Jesus several times already in the Old Testament, and in this case, again, the angel of the Lord, who has a name that is so great that he can't even say it, because they wouldn't understand it if he did. We will see that this angel is Jesus. So let's go ahead and get started. We are only reading through 1 chapter today. We have a pretty short reading, and it comes to us out of Judges 13. So if you are hungry for more information and more detail on today's reading, I encourage you to head up your big Bible and check out Judges chapter 13. And that's where you will see that term Nazirite. A message from an angel. God's people started doing wrong things again. So God let enemies take over. For 40 years, enemies were in charge of the land. Now there was a husband and a wife who had no children. And one day God's angel came to the woman. He said, "You are going to have a baby boy. You are going to have a baby boy, and he is going to be special to God. Make sure you do not drink any wine, and don't cut the boy's hair." God wants him to save his people from their enemies. The woman went to find her husband. A man from God came to see me, she said. He looked like an angel. He was wonderful. But I didn't ask where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. He told me, I will have a baby boy. And he said not to drink wine. The boy will be special to God. Then the husband prayed, Please, God, send this man back to us and let him teach us how to bring up our boy. God heard the man pray. So God's angel came back to the woman. The woman was in the field, but her husband wasn't with her. So she ran to tell him, That man is here again, she said. The husband ran back with his wife to the field, and he saw the man. Are you the man who talked to my wife? He asked. I am. Yes, said the angel. What should we do with our boy? Asked the husband. What rules should we give him? The angel said, Your wife must do what I said. She can't drink wine. She should just do what I said, what I told her. Stay here, said the husband. We want to cook some meat for you. I won't eat your food, said the angel, but you can give a gift to God. The man didn't know that this really was an angel. He asked, What's your name? We want to think of you when our son is born. Why are you asking for my name? Asked the angel. It is too great. You wouldn't understand it if I told you. So the man offered a gift of goat meat and grain. He put it on a rock. Then a wonderful thing happened. Fire came to burn the meat and grain. Then the angel went up to heaven in the fire. The man and woman watched. They put their faces down to the ground. The angel didn't come back, so they knew it was God's angel. We'll die, said the man. We've seen God. But God took our gift, said the woman. God told us these things, so he couldn't have wanted to kill us. The man's wife did have a baby boy, and they named him Samson. He grew up, and God brought good things to him, and God's Spirit started working in him. And that's the end of our reading today. Wow. That was pretty amazing, wasn't it? That God sent Jesus, the angel, to go see the woman. And it's interesting, I thought, that what he told her was to not drink wine or any other fermented drink, and not to cut the boy's hair, because he was going to be special to God from birth. And so when the husband, said that he wanted to know what rules that they should teach him, he was very clear. He said, just what I told you already. Not to drink any wine, don't cut his hair. There was nothing else that they needed to do special, but he was to be set apart for God. So in the Big Bible, they use the term a Nazirite. And they said in the Big Bible, Jesus says he will be a Nazirite from birth. And this is not customarily seen, because a Nazirite vow is a vow that a man or a woman takes on their own behalf. It is not generally one done from a parent. Now, we dedicate our children to God, but and Samuel was the only other one who he was dedicated from the time he was born. But we will get to that story later. But in that story, they were not told he was going to be a Nazirite from birth. That is something that was done by God. He was setting apart this baby. This baby, this person would be his. And during the entire life, he was not to drink wine, and he was not to cut his hair. And another part of the Nazirite vow, when a man or a woman decided to take this vow, is that they would not touch dead things. That would make them unclean. So I just wanted to point out some of those things. And I wanted to tell you that as part of our application for us in our life today, as every day has personal application that we can look to for our own, there is a New Testament um, equivalent for that. And when I was doing my research, I came across a reading, and it was from gotquestions.org, because I was trying to understand what exactly is a Nazirite and what is the Nazirite vow. And it turns out Paul was actually recorded as having taken a Nazirite vow, and it's made reference to in Acts and in Romans when he cut his hair. So at the beginning of a vow, for the Nazirite vow, a man or a woman would go to the temple, and they would cut their hair, they would shave their hair, and they would make an offering. So they were paying for it. It wasn't something you could just walk in and do for free. And then you would commit a certain amount of time. It was not a lifetime commitment. It was very rare for somebody to commit their entire life. That was more along the priestly line. And even the priests, they had a certain time frame that they were to be priests. It was like 20, 25 years. We read about that last month, I think, that a priest in the line, they were to start serving at a certain age. I think it was like 20, 25, and then they were to stop at like 50, I think it was. So they had a specified period of time in which they were set apart and special for God. It was not something done for the entire life. And I think that that's important to show. But our equivalent in the New Testament is what I was found very interesting on here, is that I'm going to read it directly. And again, this is reading directly from gotquestions.org. So I want to make sure I give credit for where I am reading this from. Although the Nazirite vow is an Old Testament concept, there is a New Testament parallel to the Nazirite vow. In Romans 12, 1 and 2, Paul states, "Therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." For Christians, the ancient Nazirite vow symbolizes the need to be separate from the world, a holy people consecrated to God. And that's 2 Timothy 1, verse 9, and 1 Peter 1, verse 15. Confirm that. So that is our daily application, that while we may not be taking a Nazirite vow where we are shaving our head and making the commitment to abstain from drinking wine or other fermented drinks, as our big Bible tells us, which extended to things like vinegar. What would you put on your salad dressing if you didn't use vinegar and oil? And they didn't, so they wouldn't have drank beer, because beer is a fermented drink, so any kind of alcohol. And we're not necessarily required to abstain from touching living things, but we are to present our bodies as a living sacrifice to God. And so that's of course a daily application that we can use every single day, regardless of what we read, because that is our goal, is to take up our cross daily and to follow Christ daily. And we've heard it said in church at times that the trouble with a living sacrifice is that it has a tendency to move itself off the altar. And so that's why it's a daily application, is that daily we have to make the decision to follow God and to set ourselves apart and to not be part of the regular world and to not do things the way that the world does it. So while we may see our friends doing things and other maybe people on TV doing things that we would not normally do, or that are not part of what God would want us to do, we have to make the decision to not be part of those things and to make sure that the choices that we are making, whether we are 6 or 7 or 12 or 15 or 30 or 50 or 80 or 90 or 120, that the choices that we are making are separating us as being apart. We are holy to God. And there's even a song that we sometimes sing in church that we may be familiar with, maybe not everybody, but it says, "I want to be holy, set apart for you, my master, ready to do your will." And so I had that song in my mind all day as I was thinking about the parallel. Because for every Old Testament um, lesson, we have an equal and opposite parallel in the New Testament. We have a parallel that happens there because that is how God completes the New Testament, is that we see the fulfillment of the Old Testament. And so that is the fulfillment of the Nazirite vow and as our parallel. So I just wanted to bring those things to us today and share our daily application. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here and your audience. And I hope everybody has had a great Monday. And I would encourage you that if you are watching or listening on an avenue that allows you to click a like button or a love button, or and to follow the channel or to subscribe to my channel, I would encourage you that you might do so if you have not already, and to like the daily session, the daily reading, to help it gain a little bit of attention so that other people will be able to potentially see this as well. And if you have the ability to share this through your TikTok or through any other means, that I would encourage you to please share it with people. Encourage them to listen to our daily reading. So thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see everybody again tomorrow.